Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to share with you guys a really special Ukrainian dinner dish. Now I've been making my turkey cabbage rolls cooked in a creamy tomato, onion, and carrot sauce. These are also known as holuptsi and they're super popular in Ukraine and Poland and all over Eastern Europe, and they can be found with pork, turkey, or ground beef. Today we're going to be using a combination of ground turkey with rice, onions, carrots, garlic, lots of spices, and then I like to bake these in the oven in a creamy tomato sauce with sour cream, carrots, and more onion. And we're gonna garnish this with a little bit of dill and parsley. These are so incredible. A childhood favorite of mine. I actually used to sit at the table and help my mom shape these ever since I was a little girl. So I've been making these for a very long time. All right, for the full list of ingredients and the written instructions, head on down into that video description box, follow the link over to my website. Meanwhile, let's get started on this incredible dish. You want to start off by cooking 1 cup of long grain rice, and this is the type that I'm using today, this basmati rice. It's perfect texture for the recipe. Once your rice is cooked, you want to drop it into a large mixing bowl and let it cool down. I actually cooked this one the night before. With the rice started, we could switch gears and work on the cabbage. Today I'm going to be using 1 large head of Napa cabbage. I like this variety over regular cabbage because the leaves are softer and larger, which makes it perfect for this recipe. And there's 2 different ways you could cook it. What I like to do is I wrap it in a food grade plastic wrap, and then I set it into the microwave for 10 minutes. Once it's cooked in the microwave for 10 minutes, I leave it wrapped and let it sit on my counter anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes while I prepare everything else for the recipe, and then we'll unwrap it. I'm also going to include instructions for how you can boil the cabbage in a large pot of water. I'm gonna have those instructions up on my website. Now let's get started on our onion and carrot mixture. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter into a large pan. I love using salted butter. Into our melted butter, I'll add in 1 large diced onion. And I grated 4 medium carrots. I have about 2.5 cups of grated carrots. Mix this all together, and I'm going to let this mixture cook away on medium-high heat for about 7 to 10 minutes until the onion is translucent and those carrots are nice and tender. Once the onions and carrots are cooked, we're going to add in 6 minced garlic cloves, a generous amount of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, and 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. Mix this all together and then let this cook for about a minute, allowing that garlic to cook and those spices to get really aromatic. Once this mixture is cooked, I'm going to transfer half of it into my mixing bowl with the rice. We need to let this mixture cool. All right, we can set that aside. And now we can make our sauce, the sauce that we're going to cook the cabbage rolls in. We'll pour in 2 cups of chicken broth, 1 cup of tomato puree or tomato sauce, and 1/3 cup of sour cream. Grab a whisk and give this a really good mix until that sour cream is really well combined with the broth and the sauce. And I just like to let it simmer away for a good 6-7 minutes. I'm gonna season it with a little bit more pepper, some salt. You wanna make sure that the sauce itself is really flavorful. That makes a huge difference. And we have a few final ingredients for the sauce. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of fresh dill, some fresh parsley, and I made a cornstarch slurry using 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and a little bit of water. We're gonna pour that into the sauce and then let this simmer for another like 30 seconds until the sauce is really nicely thickened. We're gonna switch gears and work on the cabbage. I've removed the plastic wrap, and now we're gonna take apart the cabbage so we can get those leaves for rolling and filling. And I like to take a sharp knife first and kind of cut around the core so it's easier to peel the leaves away. You don't have to cut the core completely out. Just make an incision around the center. You want to be really careful because the further down you go, you're going to have lots of hot steam coming out. And I like to flip it over and peel away the leaves. I also like to sort my cabbage. So I'll put like the smaller pieces into one pile and the larger ones into a separate one. And you also want to just cut away any of that hard core. With my cabbage leaves all sorted and ready to go, my mixture has also cooled down and I am ready to add in my meat. I have 1.5 pounds of ground turkey and I'm using 93% lean turkey. It's going to be so incredibly delicious with this recipe. Season this with 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm also going to drop in a little bit of parsley, some fresh dill, a little ground black pepper, and then use your hands to combine everything together. You want a really uniform mixture of the ground turkey with the onion and carrot mixture. I've started preheating my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to be using this large white casserole for baking the rolls. I'm going to pour in about half of the sauce, closer to 2/3, into the bottom of the pan. And then we're going to reserve the rest for topping the rolls. And now let's make some cabbage rolls. So grab a cabbage. I like to cut off the end here, make it nice and even. And we're gonna grab a spoonful, nice heaping spoonful of our filling. Gonna flatten it out. And I roll these for this recipe like I do an egg roll. So we're gonna fold over the sides and you wanna hold everything together and roll it right up. And then we're gonna place it into our pan. And this is such a nostalgic childhood dish for me. I've had cabbage rolls probably since I could eat solid foods. So yeah, it's been a very long time. And then as I grew up a little bit older, probably when I was 6 or 7 years old, my mom would let me help her make these in the kitchen. And then whenever we had company coming over, she would have us make them like super tiny little triangle cabbage rolls. So those are really fun. This is a lot easier and much quicker too. Those take forever to make. All right, and these make really great leftovers. If you have some left over the next day, what I like to do is I'll slice them in half and then I'll preheat a pan, add a little bit of oil, and I fry them in the pan. It is the best way to reheat these. You guys are gonna love this recipe. All right, once you have your cabbage rolls done, just grab a spoon and spoon the remainder of the sauce over the top of the rolls. I'm going to grab a sheet of foil and then cover my casserole pan really tightly. And these cabbage rolls are ready for the oven. They're going to bake at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. Afterwards, I like to take the foil off and turn on my broiler for about 5 to 7 minutes just to give these cabbage rolls some nice color on the top. And then they're gonna be all done and ready to enjoy. Can't wait to show you guys what they look like when they're all done. I just took these cabbage rolls out of the oven. They are still bubbling away. Now I'm just gonna let these cool down. I like to let them sit for at least 20 minutes. Let them cool down just a little bit. They're gonna be super, super hot. Let's top these off with a little bit of fresh dill and fresh parsley. And for serving, just grab a large spoon, I like to scoop out 2 or 3 cabbage rolls per serving. And that's how I'm making my easy turkey cabbage rolls. They smell so good when they're in the oven. The combination of the herbs, the spices, and that sauce with the carrots, garlic, and onion is just mouth-watering. For the full list of ingredients and the written instructions, head on down into that video description box and follow the link over to my website. I'm gonna have everything online there for you guys, including links for my cookbook, Beyond Borscht. If you guys don't have this already, you're totally missing out. This book has 75 of my favorite childhood recipes from Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, all the best recipes in one book, appetizers, soups, salads, and desserts, of course. All right, I'm just gonna dig right in. I've been craving for some of these cabbage rolls. The aroma, the flavor takes me right back to my mom's kitchen. All right. I love the texture of this cabbage too. Oh, I am loving these. The texture on the inside is so juicy and flavorful. You get the ground turkey combined with the rice, and then everything is cooked in that delicious sauce. You guys are gonna be blown away. Everything is so perfectly seasoned. And then if you want to make this a true Ukrainian experience, you want to serve these with some marinated tomatoes, some pickles. I also have a little bit of sour cream. I'm going to grab some bread from my fridge a little bit later. All this combined together on a plate is going to be just mind-blowing. If you guys haven't had Ukrainian cabbage rolls before, you're totally missing out. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe at home as much as I do. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. I love to hear from you guys. And I'll see you next time with a new recipe.